Hi everyone, good morning. This is a basic level, introductory level Pilates class that you're tuning into, where we're going to focus on whole body, just have some good fun moving and tuning into our center, feeling strong hopefully by the end of it. I am going to use the mini stability ball, but I realize not everybody has one. You don't need to have it certainly. But if you do have something like a rolled up towel or a pillow that's folded in half or a soft ball, anything that you can put between the legs for a little bit of inner thigh connection. You could still do the workout without it, but you'll feel a little bit more in that area anyway, if you have something to just get between the upper, just above the knees, and get that little bit of inner thigh action happening. So having said that, we're going to start with the ball between the knees. And that will, depending on the size of your ball or your folded up pillow or your rolled up towel, that will dictate how far apart your feet are going to be, because you'd like your feet to be right under your knees. From there, just feel like you have even weight, right leg to left leg, that you drop nice and tall in your spine, you're open across your chest, those thumbs are facing forward. And we're just going to breathe, where on your in-breath, you're focusing on widening and relaxing, and as you breathe out, you're focusing on narrowing and lengthening. And that's just a global general idea, but in specifics, when you breathe in, you're thinking about the low ribs expanding, not just out to the side, but forward and back too. You're thinking about the belly filling a little bit, even the low back and the pelvis, that air getting all the way down. So that as you breathe out, you can get that idea of narrowing where the reverse happens. You get those ribs drawing in, you get the deep belly drawing back towards the spine, and you get the pelvic floor lifting. So also seeing if you can, once you settle into things, just see if you can make the breath even as well. So nice in-breath, the same length as your out-breath. Beautiful. And then as you breathe in on your next one, you're going to raise all your toes without letting the weight shift backwards. So you're just staying nice and tall and vertical in your spine, raising all your toes and patting them back down. On your exhale, you're going to come up onto the balls of the feet, and you're going to try to press in on that ball, right? So that you can steady the ankles by having that inner thigh connection. Sink the heels, find your center between balls of the feet and heels, and then raise all the toes, place the toes down, and drop tall with a heel raise. So that's our pattern. Breathe in, pad the toes back down as you start to breathe out. Continue breathing out as you raise the heels, and then breathe in to sink the heels, raise the toes. And just continue to feel open across the chest, feel the weight of the head over the rest of the spine, and you're really getting into this subtle weight shift and balance between the toes and centered on the feet, raising the toes. And let's just do 3 more like this. Counting this one. So 2 more now. Raise the toes. Pad them down. Try to keep them wide as you pad them down. Come up. Sink the heels. Last time, raising the toes, at least like this. And coming up in your heel raise here. Sinking the heels. And then just as a little challenge, raise all the toes again. And you're going to see if you can spread them. And then you're going to see if you can put down the baby toe first, and then the 4th toe, and then the 3rd toe, and then the 2nd toe, and then finally the big toe. And you're going to try that twice more, even if it's frustrating. Draw all the toes up. See if you can widen them before you pad them back down, and then see if you can do 1 at a time, starting from the outside and working in. And it might not be possible. That's fine. You can also look at your feet. That gives you a little bit more feedback and maybe ability to sense what muscles to access and how to get that mobility. So perfect. After your 3rd one, keep your heels on the ground. Keep your lovely tall posture, and let's just bend the knees. Keeping that pelvis right under the rib cage, the back of the head against that imaginary wall behind you, and then straightening up. So we have knee bend and straighten back up. And here's your chance to get a little more ankle flexibility. And it's quite a challenge sometimes, especially if we're tight in our ankles, to feel that pelvis stay underneath us. Our biggest cheat here is that we stick the bum out. We want to feel like we're getting deeper than we are. So just see if you can be honest with yourself there, if you can really sense that pelvis staying right over the feet under the rest of the spine. Good. And then we're going to hold this one down. Take a nice breath in. On your out breath, you're squeezing in on the ball and in to release. Or your rolled up towel, or your toilet paper roll, or whatever you chose to get between the thighs to have that little connection. And this is so much more than just your inner thigh squeeze, right? This is inner thighs, lift the pelvic floor, draw in with the deep belly, exhale connection. Just a little bit to focus on, right? So let's try 4 more nice and slow like this. If you have any discomfort in the knees, you could always be a little more shallow. Just a slight knee bend, and then you still get that lovely inner thigh, pelvic floor, deep breath connection. Good, and after this one, you'll come up. You can shake it out a little bit. We're going to go back down in that same squat, and we're going to do quick ones. And the quick ones, it's a challenge to connect with the pelvic floor, but in that moment when the pelvic floor is doing its snappy lift, your quick Kegel, your quick sense of stopping your pee, that's all the help you need for like not leaking when you sneeze or lovely things like that. So slide back down your imaginary wall, bend those knees, get into a comfortable position. You're already long and tall in the spine. Breath in, and on your out breath, just quick, we're going to try 5. Where you squeeze in on the ball and you lift the pelvic floor at the same time. Press it up. We're going to do that again. It always takes a moment to warm up that. So bend the knees, take your breath in to prepare. On your out breath, 5 little quick pelvic floor lifts and squeeze the ball at the same time. So it's and come up. We can try one more. Yeah. The challenge there also, if you can get the quickness, is also to get the quick relaxation after. So here we go. Last time. And step it up. Good. Perfect. Let's just take the ball out for a minute. Set it to the side. And we'll bring the feet right together, as comfortable as you are. Take those arms, just float them overhead. And breathe them down with a little bit of like intention, deliberate. And just warming up the shoulders for 2 more breaths. And this time as you breathe the arms down, you're going to stop at shoulder height. Good. And you're going to turn both palms all the way up. And then turn them both down and back as far as you can while you still keep the arms in line, right? Not pressing them behind you or forward. Turn the palms all the way up. And rotate them back and down and back. And just seeing if that feels the same in each shoulder. And trying to get a sense of width between the shoulder blades, across the chest, so that you're really getting into the connective tissue here. Good. On this one, leave the left arm up and turn the right palm all the way down and back. And alternate. Switch. And I like to imagine that this is sort of like when you're wringing out a face cloth, right? You're getting this movement right through the deep chest. Connecting both shoulders, connecting both arms. Right? Let's add in a bit of head rotation that we often do. So you'll turn your head to look at the upright palm. Try to get the chin right over the shoulder. Try to feel long in the back of your neck. Not letting the back of the head leave that imaginary wall behind you. We'll just do 1 more on each side. Beautiful. Just a moment break to float those arms down. Just roll the shoulders a bit. And then we're going to take the arms and just interlace them behind the head if you can keep your beautiful posture. If you're really tight in the chest, maybe you want to put them just behind the ears or at the temples. And this is our butterfly. It's a lovely chest opener. Take your breath in and draw in with the low belly so that you support the low spine, but then lift the breastbone, lift the throat, lift the face, open across the chest. And on your exhale, nodding the chin slightly, bringing the elbows closer together, rolling forward, but stopping at sort of the bottom of your shoulder blades. It's not a full roll forward through the lower part of the spine. Breath in to grow tall and open across the chest. And exhale to curl forward, but thinking about length, right? You're thinking about a nice length from the base of the shoulder blades right along the back of the neck out through the top of the head. We're going to do 3 more like this. Inhaling to open, exhaling to close and roll forward. Inhaling to open, exhaling to close and roll forward. Yay, doesn't that feel good? Lovely. And good. Perfect. And then float those arms down. Release. And grab your ball again. Once again, to put the ball between the thighs, just above the knees. And using that, however thick it is, use that to guide where your feet are underneath you. And here we're going to do a nice squat, as if we have a chair behind us. And I want you to stay neutral in your spine so you really feel that the action happens at the hips. So you fold as you go to sit in that chair behind you. You fold at the hip. You stick the tailbone out behind you. You sit back. I want you to sit a little deeper. And as you go to press up, I want you to imagine squeezing in on that ball and growing taller. So breathe in to sit, to check your neutral spine, to sit a little deeper so that you're working almost the flexibility of the hips here. And then pressing up. And we'll just add in some arms moving behind us there, so really opening across the chest. So inhale to sit a little deeper. Exhale to lift the pelvic floor, to squeeze in on the ball, to press those arms behind you. In, and out. In, and out. Try to feel long out of the top of your head. And as you go to sit in that imaginary chair behind you, you maintain a little bit of a chin tuck. Sometimes as we sit the pelvis back, we poke the chin forward and we let the shoulders rise up. And you're going to say, no, we know better. Good. And then hold this one down. Take a nice breath in. On your out breath, I want you to squeeze in on the ball. In to release. As you squeeze in on the ball, I want you to rise up an inch. So this is some good leg strengthening. You've got the inner thigh, pelvic floor, deep breath connection happening. You're squeezing the bum to initiate that little motion up and then relaxing to sink a little deeper into it. And we have 4 more, maybe? Yes. A little endurance this morning. Or whenever you're doing this exercise. Perfect. And rise up. And shake it out. Good job. Good. Before we come down to the mat, just doing a little bit of balance. And I'd like you to get into a lunge position. So you're going to step forward with your left leg and back with your right. And I'm doing it this way because then we're going to move the knee. Or maybe I'll turn and face you after. So when you're stepping into your lunge, you've got the pelvis underneath the rib cage, underneath the weight of the head. You choose how big your stride is based on how comfortable you are in your balance. You can also have a wall next to you or a chair. And as you breathe in, you're lowering straight down. You're trying to keep that nice alignment. And the knee, this shin is staying pretty vertical. This knee is staying over the front foot. And on your exhale, it's that same thing. You're trying to collect yourself in the center. You're trying to be strong here. You're trying to use the bum to press up. So it's not so much work for that front thigh. So nice breath in and out. And just think of the center of you staying over the center of the mat. So there's no wobble side to side. You're trying to keep that knee very steady by being active in that front hip. If you really notice that that knee turns in or wobbles, try to feel a little more activity in that outer hip, or imagine that you're pushing the knee out against something that's not actually letting it move, and maybe that'll wake up that outer hip and you'll be able to have a little more control. And then you're going to hold this one down, and this is where we'll do our little knee movement. But in this position, I'd like you to let the knee go out to the side just a little bit, come back to the center, go in a little bit, and back to the center. And you're always pausing in the center so that you know you have that control. It's a little movement, but you'll feel it in the hip. Right? Feel it in that leg as a little bit of endurance. Let's do out to the side, in, center. One more full one. So out to the side, center it, in, center. Take a nice breath in, step forward, walk it out, and then change to the other leg. So stepping back this time with your left leg if you're doing the same leg as I was. Right leg is forward now, checking your alignment. Open across your chest. And as you breathe in, sinking down, and exhale to press back up. Right? And I always try to demonstrate a little bit, a big motion so that that's what you can see and copy. But really, this is what you can do. So you might be in quite a narrower stride and just sinking and coming back up very slightly. And you still get all the benefits of the balance, of the leg strengthening. And as you improve in the flexibility, in the strength, in the balance, then maybe you can take a bigger step or go a little deeper, right? But you do what is available to you. Hold this next one down. And this is our knee movement. So we have when you're ready, everything else stays nice and still. And you just let that knee go outside a little bit. And back to the center. And then in a little bit. And back to the center. Just breathing as you do it. Seeing if you can also keep the toes relaxed, right? No grippy curled toes, that won't help the balance. It's something that sometimes we reflexively, I think, try to do if we're feeling like we're not balanced or doing a movement that's new to us. Let's do one more out to the side, center, one more in, center, and then step it in. Gorgeous. Good. And just shake it out there. And then from there, we'll just take one more nice breath overhead. And we'll breathe the arms down with some intention. Gorgeous. And then we'll come down onto our backs on the mat. If you have a bit of low bone density, you're trying to come down in your neutral spine. So as you get yourself organized, maybe coming down on your side and rolling back instead of trying to sit and round the spine. This is a bit of a dangerous position if you have osteoporosis or osteopenia, right? So trying to maintain that tall neutral spine. I wanted you to have your mini ball. There we go. Grab your mini ball if you have it, or your rolled up towel, or your folded up pillow, or whatever you have to put between the thighs. And you're going to get yourself settled on your back on the mat with your neutral pelvis. The knees nice and bent, the feet no wider apart than the knees. And uncurl the toes. Get a presence through the balls of the feet and the heels. Have the arms at your sides. See if you can drop the shoulders back towards the mat. Relax through the throat and the neck so that the head is heavy on the mat. And we're actually going to start with a little arm movement today, even though we put the ball there, but we're just going to maintain that. You guys have free entertainment behind us, no extra cost. Take a nice breath in. to prepare. And as you breathe the arms overhead, I really want you to hold your low ribs back. Like feel like your solar plexus area has a strap around it rooted to the mat, and those low ribs are not going to pop up as you put the arms back. So on your exhale, you're taking both arms overhead and you're trying to keep them no wider than your shoulders. So keep them narrow like you're in a little skinny hallway and you don't want to touch the sides of the hallway. Okay. Breathe those arms overhead and see how far back the shoulders can go, the upper arms can go, before you'd have to lift the ribs. Maybe you're very flexible and you're able to get those arms close to the mat, or if you've got some stiffness in one shoulder, it might look asymmetrical. Or maybe you're tight in both shoulders and you end up here and the ribs are already wanting to lift. That's okay. All right, as you breathe in, press them back down by your sides, palms down, full connection there. Get the whole palm of the hand, the wrists, the forearms, if you can, on the mat. And exhale to raise them overhead again. And inhale to press them back down. Exhale, overhead. And inhale to press them back down. So no movement through the head and neck, no lift through the solar plexus area or the low ribs. As you breathe overhead, add a little squeeze in on the ball. See? More value for your time. And let's do 3 more, just like this. And on the third one, instead of coming down the way we did, you're going to circle out to the sides if you have space in your space. So keep those low ribs held back, circle the arms out to the side and try to get them to sort of skim along the floor, to be nice and wide across your chest. Bring them right down by your hips, turn the palms back down and raise them overhead on your exhale. Squeeze in on the ball. And hold that whole rib cage against the mat. Circle nice and wide. Try to feel an opening across the chest. Beautiful. Palms down. Overhead once again. Hold, 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 hold for a little stretch there. Hold those low ribs back. That pelvis in lovely neutral. Circle and be wide with your circle. Really feel that stretch across the front of the chest. Between the shoulder blades is nice and wide. Circle those arms back down. Place them by your sides, palms down. See if you can spread the fingers and have that whole connection of the hands on the mat, the forearms, the upper arms, the shoulder blades. Take a nice breath in. You're easy on the ball, and as you exhale, you're squeezing in on the ball and going into a gentle imprint with the low back. Breath in to get easy on the ball. Move the pelvis back to neutral. And gently flat. Beautiful. Breath in back to neutral. Exhale, gently flat. And on this next one, we're going to start to peel up just a little bit, but keep those toes relaxed. On your exhale, squeeze in on the ball. Gently allow that low spine to move into imprint, and then squeeze the bum and lift the tailbone. Lift the lowest part of the back. Maybe a little bit of that low rib cage as you come up. Good, and at the top you're going to pause. And you're going to press in on the ball just for 4. And then peel it down, one bone to the back at a time. Connecting right back down to the mat, finding that neutral pelvis again, being easy on the ball, like relaxed, not so much that the ball falls off or out, but on your exhale, squeeze in on the ball, feel the low belly draw back towards the spine sink down towards the mat, peel it up. One bone to the back at a time. You're trying to be smooth in this lift, right? And you can go for height if you're comfortable coming to have those hips nice and high in line with the knees and the shoulders, but maybe you're not, and maybe you stop a little bit lower, and that's fine. Take a nice breath in here, and we're going to squeeze in on the ball, but then we're going to lift both heels, and then lower both heels. Lift both heels, and lower both heels. And you're trying to keep even weight across the knuckles of the feet. So a little presence on the baby toe side of the foot, a little presence on the big toe knuckle, right? The toes are nice and relaxed, so no grippy toes. if you can help it. And seeing if you can leave the pelvis nice and still. So as you put the heels down, it's like you squeeze the bum a bit to raise that pelvis. Not raise it, but not let it fall, I guess. Okay? And we'll just try to do 2 more like that, because probably we're feeling it in the hips, I hope. Put the heels down. Before you lower, we're going to squeeze in on the ball for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1, and now we're going to peel down. 1 bone to the back at a time. And pause there, nice breath in. We're going to come up 1 more time. So squeeze in on the ball as you exhale. Get that imprint happening through the pelvis. Peel it up. 1 bone to the back at a time. Beautiful. Good. And this time, I'd like you to take the arms off the mat for a little bit of extra balance, if you're comfortable with that. Keep the shoulder blades on the mat. Like stay nice and wide across the chest. And we're just going to do single leg heel lifts. So I'd like you to raise the heel of the right leg, keep the pelvis level, and place it back down. And then switch sides. And lower. I like the ball between the legs. You wouldn't have to have it on this exercise, but I like it because it makes sure that you don't get too wide in the knees. Right? It keeps that alignment through the low body. You're not actively squeezing in on the ball except enough to keep it there, but it is guiding your sort of alignment and your form. Good. Try to imagine length in your spine, like the tailbone is reaching down towards the ball. The knees are reaching over the toes. And we're doing good here, right? We got a little endurance going on. Yes, we do. Let's do 1 more with the right heel. And 1 more with the left heel. Good. Before you peel down, bring those arms overhead. See if you can leave them as far back as you can comfortably reach. Maybe they hit the mat like this because your rib cage is up. And I want you to feel like you leave them there as you peel the spine down. And see if you can appreciate that length in the shoulders, that length in the side body. Right back to neutral. Isn't that nice? Yeah. Good. And then we're going to take the ball from between the knees. If you have the ball, you can place it behind the pelvis. It is optional, so you can do all this series without the ball. But if you have it, put it behind the pelvis, just to give you that lovely little bit of feedback, right? No worries if you don't have it. If you don't have it, you're feeling a nice awareness of where the center of your pelvis is rooted to the mat, so that there's no wobble side to side and no tipping, forward and back. And we're just going to start with we've already warmed up our arms, so we're going to do single leg and both arms. So palms are down, feet are close together, knees are close together. Take a nice breath in. On your exhale, you're thinking of that pelvic floor lift and the deep belly drawing in before you move, just to help steady you in the pelvis and the low back area. And then right leg's coming up to tabletop. Both arms are going to go overhead as far as you can maintain a nice position of the rib cage and that level pelvis, and then place it back down. And we're just going to march in place here. If you have some shoulder issues, you could always omit the arms. Or if you're using the ball and you say, this is too hard, because it is, it's hard not to wobble on the ball, then you could focus just on doing one leg and not the arms. So raising up on your exhale, just because that gives you the opportunity to connect a little deeper in your core, but as you breathe in, still lowering down nice and smooth with control. Good. 1 more with the right leg. Making sure you're relaxed in the throat and neck. The head is still heavy on the mat. The chest is still wide. The shoulder blades are still connected to the mat. Good. Lower it down. And now take the hands, whether you're on the ball or off, and just place them on your hip pointers, just for a little bit of feedback. Bring that right leg up to tabletop and feel those hips stay nice and level. On your next exhale, you're going to straighten it out. And you're going to lower down what you can control. So without feeling any shift in the pelvis or any lift or bulge of the abdominals. And when you get to a point where you're good, then I want you to try to do 4 circles, little tiny circles with that leg, with that straight leg, and nothing else moves. The leg on the mat doesn't move. Your spine doesn't move. The abdominals are going to work hard here, as well as the front of the hip and thigh. But think of lengthening out of the tips of your toes. Think of it being long in that whole leg. Reverse your circle after 4. And the hands are just monitoring the pelvis for any movement, right? If I wasn't trying to stabilize, if I wasn't using those deeper abdominals, then as my leg went out to the side, my pelvis would probably tip that way. This would be my natural, like, let everything join in. And you're just looking to control that movement and make sure that the whole movement's coming from your hip. Right? After your 4th one, take a nice breath in, flex the foot. Right? Reach longer out of the bottom of your heel if you can. Lower the leg a tiny bit more if you have that control. And then bend the knee, bring it in, and lower it down. And we'll do that on the other side. So recenter, find your neutral, on or off the ball, no matter, but feel yourself. Stay nice and still in that pelvis, whichever version you're doing. Take the left leg up to tabletop when you're ready. Those low ribs stay back. Exhale to straighten the leg out. To just lower it what you can control, right? You might be here, right? If you start to lower the leg and you feel, you lose the abdominal connection or the low back starts to arch more, then you're already at your max and you stay where you have good form. And then when you're at a good place, you start your circles and they're small, right? There's not big circles. Your other leg's going to get in the way for one. They're just tiny little circles where you're trying to feel length in that side and right out of the tips of the toes, and where you're really focused on the pelvis staying still. And if that pelvis is wobbling a little bit, you could try to make the circle a little smaller, but you also could try to use your out breath where you really need the help. Like say when the leg goes out to the side, you always feel, a little wobble. Use your out breath at that moment. Sorry, I hope I said reverse the circle because now I've done 4 on each side. Flex the foot. Reach longer out of the bottom of your heel like you're trying to touch something just out of reach. And then allow the leg to lower a little more. Draw back with the low belly. Control, control, control. And then bring it in. Gorgeous, eh? Perfect. You can come off of the ball. Good. And you're going to come onto your side. Okay. And this is a little finicky, but give it a try if you're happy. We're going to take the ball or your rolled up towel or your pillow and you're going to place it behind your knee. So it's just at the crease of the knee and then bend the top knee so that you hold it there. Right. Keep the knees bent. And if it falls out or you hate it being there, that's fine. That you don't have to hold it there. It's just that it's going to give you a little more hamstring back of the thigh connection. Take a moment and get comfortable on your bottom arm or cradle or get your little cushion, right? Get your head in line with the rest of the spine. You've got a little space that you're thinking about between waist and mat. The pelvis is stacked. The knees are together. And you're squeezing that ball enough to hold it there. And then when you're ready, we're going to raise the top leg without letting that pelvis roll back and put it back down. Raise the top leg without letting that pelvis move and place it back down. And you can have the hand on the mat for a little balance if you need to. Okay. You also have an option to make it a little harder and float both feet. Right? Maybe you're comfortable to be there, but if you are there, make sure that pelvis is staying nice and still. We're going to add in a little bit of a broken clam here. So this is called clamshell. You're opening, closing the clam, I guess. Does look a bit like clamshell, I guess. And then you're going to open. If you want to add the little broken clam, then you do a little lift, but without that pelvis rolling back. Lower it and put it down. So lift. Lift more. Sorry, that was bad cueing. Open, lift, lower, close. Let's do 4 more. Open, lift, lower, close. Open, lift, lower, close. open. We're going to do a little repeater on our lift here, so keep the pelvis stacked. And the lift is 4, 6, 5. You feel that, eh? Oh, 4, 3, 2, 1. But that was nice. And lower and close it. Good. If you had the feet up, lower them down now. Keep the bottom knee bent. And we're going to raise the top leg, but so it's parallel to the floor. Right? And again, if your ball doesn't stay there, or you hate it, or your rolled up towel's falling off, then that's fine. You can get rid of it, but if you can keep it there, good. It's giving you a little bit of inner or back of thigh connection. The whole leg is going to stay parallel to the floor, and you're going to bring the knee up towards you. And you're going to move that knee up towards you as far as you can before you'd have to move the spine. So that's hip flexibility, and you might get to a point where you're like, yeah, that's, beyond that you'd have to move the back, right? So you're trying to stay long in that top body, and then go the opposite way and move that thigh behind you. Behind you, keeping the leg parallel to the floor. Right? That's a little bit hard. You might feel a little crampy in the back of the hamstring there. Breathe in to bring that knee towards you. Exhale to press it back. Inhale, the leg towards you. Exhale to press it back. So the thigh is always sort of, it's gliding at the same height from the mat. Yeah. And back. We're going to do one more nice one. Breathe in. Good. Stay here at your peak, however far you can get that knee up. You're staying there now, and you're going to lift the knee a little towards the ceiling. For 4, for 3, for 2, for 1, and then sweep the leg back. You know what's coming. Get it maybe in line with the rest of the spine. If you're a little tight in the front of the thigh, it might not quite get back there. But from there, lift the knee for 4. Oh, that's hard. For 3, for 2, for 1. Beautiful. Bring it in over the other leg and relax. Good. We have to do the other side. So a little clamshell position. Optional to have the ball behind the knee. It's great if you can have it there. It'll give you just a little more attention to the hamstrings. And the knees are the same length if you look down at them. You've got your pelvis stacked. You've got a little space that you're thinking of between waist and mat. So actively lifting that low rib. Top hand on the hip or on the mat. And starting just your clamshell. So opening the hip and closing. Lifting the knee and closing. Making sure that pelvis doesn't roll backwards. And also that you don't move at the waist. Optional, definitely. A little bit harder usually to have the feet floating. Okay. So you pick what you're going to do today. I'm going to demonstrate with the feet down. And getting ready on our next one to add that little break of the clam. So lift, open, add a little lift, lower, and close. This one's harder for me to keep that ball there. Lift, lower, close, open, lift, lower, close. We have 4 more. Open, lift, lower, close. Yeah, it's definitely harder on this side. Always have to wake up that right side. Maybe you're on your easy side though. You're lucky. Good. Hold this one. We're going to do a little repeater on the lift, right? So a little repeater for 6, for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Beautiful. Good. Close it up. Take a moment if you need to, but then float that leg up. Adjust my ball a bit so that it's parallel to the floor. Have still your lovely neutral spine. And when you breathe in, you're bringing that knee forward, up towards your chest, but stopping when you'd have to move your spine. So it's all hip movement. And then sweeping the leg back. And almost a thought of tucking the pubic bone forward or the tailbone forward so that you don't arch in the back. Sweep it forward as you breathe in. Exhale to sweep it back. And trying to keep that knee, that thigh, the same distance from the floor, no matter where you are in this movement. Right? So it doesn't drop as you come forward, it doesn't raise as you go back, or vice versa. Okay. And as you can have the hand on the mat for a little bit of balance for sure. Let's do one more. I lost count. Can you believe it? I lost count. Come forward. And on this one, we'll hold it. And then we'll lift the knee for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. And then sweep it back. And lift for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Oh, isn't that nice? Close it up and get rid of your ball. Perfect. From there, we're so on hands and knees, or coming up to stand, however, whatever feels good in your body here. But taking your time just to lean back with the hips, to let the low back soften. When you feel good, lower the forehead to the mat, or you can keep the hands under the forehead. Again, whatever feels good, but if you want, wrap the hands around by the feet. And just spend a few breaths here, trying to feel open across the back of your chest. Trying to imagine as you breathe in that the low spine lifts towards the ceiling, almost like you get a little space between belly and thighs. And as you exhale, you're trying to sink those sit bones a little deeper towards the heels. Helping yourself as you need to get into a little bit of a smaller ball here. Beautiful. Good. On your next out breath, bring the hands forward for a little bit of support. If you have some low bone density, remember you're using the arms. You're coming into a nice flat spine, and you're helping yourself to raise up in that position. Okay. If you have no worries about that, the bone density, then you can roll it up if that feels good. So, and there we go. I'm going to leave you there. Hope you enjoyed that. And I'm going to do a little bit of core add-on. If you want just a few more minutes, then you can choose that this week. Hope your day is as beautiful as it is out there, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.